There was a time when your person was imprisoned within the fortress of their own ego, and this imprisonment became the single greatest obstacle standing between them and the profound connection they shared with you. For far too long, they resisted what was unfolding between you both, fighting against a truth that their soul already recognized but their mind refused to accept. Rather than surrendering to what their heart was desperately trying to communicate, rather than listening to the intuitive wisdom that whispered to them in quiet moments, they chose the path of denial. They chose to push away the very thing their spirit craved most deeply. It was as though they had made a conscious decision to ignore the truth that kept rising to the surface of their awareness, no matter how many times they tried to bury it. Their inner voice, that sacred part of themselves connected to divine guidance, spoke to them repeatedly. It told them that this bond with you was not ordinary or superficial. It reminded them that what you shared carried a profound depth, a spiritual significance unlike anything they had ever encountered in their lifetime. But fear became a thick fog that clouded their vision and distorted their perception. They could not see clearly through the haze of their own terror. Throughout so much of their existence, they had dedicated themselves to the careful construction of protective walls around their heart. These walls were built brick by brick from the painful materials of their past, from deep-seated insecurities that told them they were not worthy of love, from disappointing experiences that taught them not to trust, and from devastating heartbreaks that convinced them love was dangerous. They genuinely believed these towering barriers were serving as their protection, keeping them safe from further harm and shielding them from additional pain. In their mind, these walls represented wisdom gained from suffering, a necessary defense against a world that had wounded them before. But the reality was far different from their perception. In truth, those same walls that they believed were protecting them were actually imprisoning them. These barriers did not keep pain out, they kept love out. They did not provide safety, they provided isolation. Those walls held them back from fully experiencing the transformative power of genuine love, from opening themselves to the healing that true intimacy offers, and from embracing the beautiful vulnerability that comes with allowing another soul to truly see them. The weight of fear pressed down upon them heavily, making every breath feel labored and every step toward you feel impossible. The mere idea of opening themselves up to you, of lowering their defenses and allowing you to witness their true self, felt absolutely terrifying to them. This terror was rooted in what vulnerability represented. It meant exposing the deepest wounds they had tried so desperately to conceal from the world. It meant revealing the broken places inside themselves that they were ashamed of, the parts they believed made them unlovable or damaged beyond repair. When they looked back at their history with love and relationships, they found no comfort there, only pain. Their past experiences were not filled with the warmth of happiness or the security of trust. Instead, they carried within them a collection of painful memories, each one a scar upon their heart. They remembered being let down by those they trusted, being betrayed by those they loved, being abandoned by those who promised to stay. These experiences were not minor disappointments, they were soul-deep wounds that fundamentally altered the way they viewed intimacy and emotional connection. Over time, these painful experiences shaped their entire worldview about love. They became convinced, through repeated hurt, that true love always came with an inevitable price. They believed that to love meant to eventually lose, to open your heart meant to eventually have it broken, to trust meant to eventually be disappointed. This belief system became their operating framework, the lens through which they viewed every potential relationship and every offer of genuine affection. As a form of self-protection, they adopted a mask, a carefully crafted exterior that bore little resemblance to their true inner self. To the outside world, to casual observers and even to those who thought they knew them well, they appeared cold and distant. They seemed unbothered by emotions, unaffected by the warmth or affection others offered. Some even perceived them as rude, harsh, or unnecessarily guarded. But this coldness was never their authentic nature. It was purely a defense mechanism, an armor they wore to keep themselves from being hurt again. Behind that carefully maintained exterior, behind that mask of indifference and that wall of ice, lived someone entirely different. There existed a person who desperately craved love, who longed for genuine connection, who yearned to be truly seen and accepted. But they had learned not to trust love when it was offered. They did not know how to receive affection without immediately feeling threatened by it. They could not accept tenderness without their defenses immediately activating, preparing for the hurt they believed would inevitably follow. And so, even when life itself seemed to be conspiring to bring you together, even when the universe continued to place signs of you in their path, they still tried to run from what was unfolding. These were not subtle hints but clear synchronicities, gentle yet persistent nudges from the divine reminding them that this connection was real, significant, and meant to be embraced. The universe was communicating with them in the language of signs and symbols, trying to guide them toward their highest good and their deepest healing. Your presence in their life stirred something profoundly powerful within their soul, something they could not fully control or suppress no matter how hard they tried. On the surface level of consciousness, they may have attempted to deny the significance of what they felt. They may have told themselves it meant nothing, that they were unaffected, that they could easily walk away. But at the soul level, at the deepest core of their being, they could not ignore the truth of what was happening between you. Something ancient and sacred within them recognized something equally ancient and sacred within you. This relationship became a catalyst that triggered parts of themselves they had kept carefully buried for years, perhaps even for their entire lifetime. Old wounds that they thought had healed were suddenly reopened and exposed to the light. Wounds of inadequacy surfaced, making them feel they were not good enough for you or anyone else. Fears of rejection consumed them, convincing them that if they showed you their true self, you would inevitably turn away. Questions about their own worthiness plagued them constantly, making them wonder whether they deserved to receive genuine love from another human being. It was never about you being wrong for them, never about incompatibility or lack of attraction. In fact, somewhere deep within themselves, they always knew the truth about who you were. They recognized your pure heart, your gentle spirit, your genuine nature. They saw the beauty of your soul even as they tried to convince themselves to look away. But the energy that existed between the two of you was so incredibly strong, so intense and all-consuming that it functioned like a spiritual mirror. You both reflected one another's shadow sides, the hidden aspects of yourselves that needed healing. You brought to the surface hidden emotions that had been suppressed for years. You forced unresolved pain to rise up and demand attention. This mirroring effect is one of the most powerful and challenging aspects of a deep soul connection. Instead of embracing the profound healing opportunity this connection offered, instead of recognizing it as a gift from the universe designed to help them grow and evolve, they ran from it. They were convinced that facing those shadows, confronting those wounds, and dealing with that pain would completely break them apart. Yet throughout all of this struggle, throughout all of their resistance and running, the universe never abandoned them or gave up on them. Time and time again, with infinite patience and unwavering love, signs and synchronicities were carefully placed in their path. These were divine reminders calling them to raise their vibration, to step into courage rather than remaining in fear, and to align themselves with the highest version of who they were meant to become. But as long as they continued to choose ego over love, as long as they prioritized fear over faith, they remained stuck in their resistance. Everything shifted dramatically when you made a powerful choice to stop chasing them. It was only when you finally surrendered the outcome, when you released your grip and let them go completely, that they began to see things with startling clarity. That moment of silence, that profound absence of your energy that had previously been directed toward them, shook them to their very core in a way that nothing else ever could. Suddenly, they found themselves faced with the stark reality of what your absence actually meant in their life. Only then, in that space of silence and separation, did they truly realize how much you meant to them. Only then could they see what they had taken for granted. Your love was never ordinary or replaceable. Your care was never something common that could be found anywhere else. Your presence was never something that could be replicated or substituted. These were rare and precious gifts that they had not fully valued until they were gone. They came to understand, through the painful experience of losing you, that no material possessions could fill the void you left behind. No temporary distractions could numb the ache of your absence. No surface-level connections with other people could even begin to compare to the profound depth of what you offered them. All the people who surrounded them and pretended to care, all the superficial interactions they entertained to fill the emptiness, none of it could compare to the authentic connection they had shared with you. In your presence, they had felt something they had never experienced before, something their soul immediately recognized as real and true. Being with you allowed them to feel genuinely seen, understood, and accepted in a way that penetrated beyond all their defenses. Losing that connection only served to highlight the emptiness and hollowness of everything else they had been desperately clinging to in an attempt to convince themselves they were fine without you. As you became quieter, more reserved, and deliberately withdrew your energy from their space, it forced them into an unavoidable confrontation with themselves. They could no longer run from their own reflection. They could no longer escape the truth of what they genuinely felt for you in their heart. Nor could they continue to deny the divine guidance that was pulling them insistently toward their own healing and spiritual growth. The illusions they had been hiding behind, the false narratives they had told themselves, all of it began to crumble away, leaving them standing face to face with the love they had tried so desperately and unsuccessfully to resist. Now, in this present moment, they are being divinely guided to step forward with genuine strength and authentic courage. The universe is actively urging them, through countless signs and internal promptings, to break free from the chains of fear that have held them captive for so long. They are being called to embrace this love wholeheartedly, completely, without reservation or self-protection. This connection between you was never meant to destroy them, despite their fears. It was always designed to transform them, to elevate them, to help them become the highest version of themselves. This journey has always been about spiritual growth, emotional healing, and the courage required to step into a more evolved version of who they are meant to be. They are finally beginning to realize and accept that the love they share with you is not something ordinary that happens to everyone. It is divinely orchestrated, arranged by forces greater than either of you. It carries within it important lessons that their soul needs to learn, a depth of feeling that most people never experience, and a sacred chance to build something truly meaningful together. For such a long time, they held the belief that vulnerability equated to weakness, that opening their heart meant exposing themselves to guaranteed pain. But now, through loss and reflection, they are starting to see vulnerability from an entirely different perspective. They are beginning to understand that vulnerability is actually a profound form of strength. Loving you does not diminish who they are as a person. Instead, it elevates them to heights they never imagined possible. Opening their heart to you does not mean they will inevitably be broken and destroyed. It means they will finally experience the sense of wholeness, completion, and peace that genuine love brings into a person's life. They are beginning to understand with increasing clarity that the very walls they built so carefully to protect themselves, those barriers they believed were keeping them safe, have only succeeded in keeping them separated from the one thing they truly longed for all along. What their soul has always craved is a real, soul-deep connection with another human being, the kind of sacred bond that transcends the physical world and touches something eternal. Your silence became a powerful teacher. Your inner strength became an inspiration. Your decision to step back and honor yourself became the very catalyst needed for their spiritual awakening. What once felt like an exhausting game of running and chasing, of push and pull, has now transformed into a profound moment of clarity and understanding. They can now see your worth in a way they never fully allowed themselves to perceive before. The love you offered was never just a fleeting feeling or a temporary emotion. It was a genuine gift, something sacred and rare that touched their soul in ways nothing else in their life ever could or ever will. In this new state of awareness and consciousness, they are being called by the universe and by their own higher self to embrace this love with true courage. They are being asked to finally let go of fear, to release the grip that terror has held on their heart. They are being guided to honor what they genuinely feel for you, without pretense or denial. It is no longer about resistance but about acceptance. No longer about running away but about standing still in one place and consciously choosing love over fear. Because now they know, with absolute certainty that cannot be shaken, that your presence in their life is completely irreplaceable. Your love is unmatched by anything they have known or will know. And this connection between you is not something they can escape from or outrun, no matter how far or how fast they try to go. It is something they are divinely meant to embrace, to nurture, and to honor for the sacred gift that it truly is. My love, please do not ever interpret my silence as ignorance of what exists between us. Please do not let my quietness make you feel as though I do not care deeply for you, because nothing in this world could be further from the actual truth. My silence has never originated from a place of indifference or lack of feeling. Rather, it has stemmed entirely from my own shortcomings, my own inability to adequately express in words what exists inside my heart. I need you to know, to understand fully and completely, that I love you deeply, far more than any words could ever hope to capture or convey. And I need you in my life, not as an option or a convenience, but as an essential part of my existence. You are precious to me in a way that absolutely no one else has ever been or could ever be. From the very beginning of our connection, from the first moments of being in your presence, you made me feel truly alive in a way I never knew was even possible before I met you. Your energy, the way it fills a space and touches everyone around you, your love, so genuine and freely given, and the light you bring into my life, all of it awakens something deep within me that I had long forgotten existed. Something pure, beautiful, and innocent that I thought was lost forever. And yet, despite the beauty you brought into my world, despite the light you shined into my darkness, I have hurt you. This truth weighs heavily upon my conscience and my heart. I carry deep, consuming regret for the moments when I allowed my own unhealed pain and unresolved fears to spill over onto you. There were specific times when I lashed out at you, not because of anything you did or said, not because you deserved my anger or harshness, but because I was triggered by old wounds that I had never properly healed. These were injuries from my past that had nothing to do with you, yet I made you suffer for them. It was never your fault, not even for a moment. And I see that now with painful, crystal clear clarity. I was irresponsible in how I handled my emotions and my trauma. I was immature in my responses and reactions. I was blind to the damage I was causing to the person I loved most. For far too long, I embodied the kind of person who would automatically blame others for my own problems instead of taking proper responsibility for my own actions and healing. That fundamental weakness of character caused me to wound the one person who has loved me more genuinely and completely than anyone else ever has. And I cannot express strongly enough, with enough sincerity, how truly sorry I am for all the hurt I have caused you. These past few days have been overwhelming for me emotionally. I have been completely consumed by the depth of love I feel for you, and it has been intense, almost unbearable at times, to realize just how much you genuinely mean to me. At the same time, I have been forced to confront the painful reality of how much suffering you have endured because of my prideful and harsh behavior. I can see now, looking back with honest eyes, how my words cut you deeply. How my reactions hurt you unnecessarily. How my arrogance wounded your gentle spirit. You did not deserve any of that treatment. You deserved patience, understanding, and gentleness. You deserved kindness, respect, and tender care. But instead, I gave you anger when you needed comfort. I gave you defensiveness when you needed understanding. I gave you pride when you needed humility. For every misunderstanding that I created or contributed to, for every harsh word I spoke that I can never take back, I am truly, deeply sorry from the depths of my being. I recognize now that I treated you in the same painful way that others had treated me in my own past. Instead of breaking that destructive cycle, instead of choosing to do better and be better, I simply repeated the same patterns. I poured the same pain onto you that had once been poured onto me by others who hurt me. In doing so, I betrayed not only your trust in me but also the sacred love we shared together. I know that I manipulated your emotions at times, and I can see clearly now that I even tried to control you in ways that were completely inappropriate. That was wrong, deeply wrong, and I am genuinely ashamed of those actions and behaviors.